Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Robin Spiers Live Online, Calgary's Real Estate Hotline. I'm Robin, and I want to hear all the questions you've got about real estate. Just real quick, next week we're going to be having one of Calgary's best interior designers as a guest. So make sure you send us your interior design questions or renovation questions, or actually even tune in and get your questions answered live. So look forward to that next week. As always, you can leave your questions in our comments section below, or if you want to keep your questions private, you can private message us, and or you can email it at info@robinspiers.com. So I'm just about to get to the Q&A, but before I do, just a reminder, if you have a friend or a family member that would benefit from getting a question answered, go ahead and tag them in the comments section below so they can tune in now or later and get their questions answered. Another thought I had is if they can't tune in now and you happen to know their question, go ahead and type it and tag them in the comment section, and they'll get to see the answer later. So, getting to the questions. Here we go. This was sent in by Brianna. Brianna. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name right or incorrectly. But her question was, can I determine how much my home is worth from an internet website? The quick answer there is not accurately. Every property is going to be unique, and it does take going to the property in most cases. There's some exceptions, but generally speaking, because there are unique properties, it's very important to see it. So definitely requires experience, in-depth knowledge of your home and of the market and the competition to be able to ascertain a value. So no, you can't get an accurate value from internet websites, but you can from a professional who knows what they're doing. Anyway, just welcoming Wayne and Marion. Wayne has submitted a question here. Apartment condo versus townhouse condo. Any thoughts on the market between the two? So, well, right off the bat, there are a lot more apartment style condos than townhouse condos out there. And as a result, that's one of the things that there's a really big surplus right now is apartment style condos. But I guess townhouse condos, I guess some of the differences between the two would be, townhouse condos are probably going to have, in some cases, a little more relaxed policies on pets because some townhouses come with small yards or at least some area at the back. So they're a little bit more pet friendly in some cases. But as far as retaining value, I mean, a townhouse right now is probably going to have a little bit better chance of retaining value because there's just not that many of them in comparison to apartment style condos. So, but that's because we've got such a surplus of condos right now, apartment style condos, because in 2 or 3 years when that surplus gets eaten up like it did back between 2009 and 2012, you might see apartment style condos coming back again. There was a movement afoot for quite a number of years for people to be downsizing a little bit or have less of a footprint, as they were calling it. So I had clients over the years go from 800 to 1,000 square feet down to 600 to 750 square feet, both 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. So there definitely was a movement afoot. I guess if you look at all the new buildings as well, they are building all kinds of smaller units. Before, you never saw 480 square foot condos, 500 square foot condos. But since 2006, the smaller units, partly because of people wanting to have less of a footprint, and possibly also because the cost of these are less, people can afford them, once prices had started going up in 2006. But Wayne, I don't know if that's specifically the question or the answer you're looking for, but right now it seems like townhouse condos are going to hold their value a little bit better just because there's not a surplus of those. It costs more per square foot to build them, and they can't quite charge the same amount in proportion to apartment style condos. So for builders and developers, apartment style condos are a better bang for their buck. They're going to make more money off of that and still keep the costs a little lower than townhouse condos. So anyway, if you have any more specific questions about that, let me know and be happy to answer those. So we got another question here from Amy. The question is, how many homes should I see before making an offer? And this is a good question, Amy. The short answer, or I guess as best answer as possible, is as many as it takes until you find the right one you want to buy. At the end of the day, there's no set number. And it also means that you should probably be working with a realtor that has some patience if you have specific needs or if you've got really specific wants and it's hard to find the property you're looking for. So yeah, long and short of it, just as many as it takes until you find the right one. And you'll know. In my experience, I've known every time one of my clients has walked into a property and they just knew. So you should know, and if you're questioning, you're wondering if you know, then you don't know, and you should be moving on and finding something that is. The other thing you could also do is do a very objective thing, create a pros and cons list. On one side, all the things that you like about the place, and then on the other side, a cons list of all the things you don't like about the place. You should also have a master list before you ever go out looking for properties, I think, of all the things that are must-haves. In other words, if a property doesn't have this thing, and you've got to decide this as you're making the list, but decide what does property I'm looking for have to have, and if it doesn't have it, then I move on. And just be very honest with yourself when you create that list. Once you've created it, then you don't have to worry about it. If something doesn't have that, then you move on. And if you go to a property and say, well, it doesn't have that, but I still am interested in this property, then you have to decide whether that's a must-have or not. So anyway, that's what I would recommend, Amy. Jay sent in a question on, should I price my home higher to leave room for negotiation? Okay, well, there's no short answer to this one, Jay. It really depends on a number of factors. You should definitely consult with a professional that knows the product, the market, and the competition. Everybody has different strategies. Obviously, you want a professional negotiator to be answering this question because there's definitely some, like I said, many factors that would factor into this. But good question, actually. That's a lot of people don't think in terms of that, whereas that's my favorite thing to do is negotiate. So if you wanted to get in touch with me in private about that, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Wayne has another question here. Thanks for the questions, Wayne. Any areas you can suggest as up and coming for me to buy a rental property? So there are some neighborhoods in Calgary that investors would probably look at as more revenue friendly, and then there's some areas in town that might be more appreciation friendly. So if you look back over the years, even say the last decade or more, there are some neighborhoods that have gone up in value on average more than some others, but rent hasn't changed a whole lot. So for instance, there are some neighborhoods where properties are very cheap, but the rent is not that much different than some of the areas where properties are going up in value. So when you think in terms of an investment as a rental property, it's not as important that the property goes up in value. Well, I guess it depends on your goals. That's just one thing you need to know, is your goals as an investor. But let's say there's an area in town where the properties are not going up as well, but the rent is very good. Your cash flow, your monthly cash flow will be very good, and that might be what you're focusing on. So if your focus is on positive cash flow on a monthly basis, then I would highly recommend the places where the rent's not that much different than the rest of the city, but you can get a property for a lot cheaper. So, and again, conversely, or on the opposite side of the coin, if you have, if your goals are appreciation, like let's say if you're into buy and flips, then you probably want to look in an area where you know the value is going to be maintained or go up as much as possible. Not that you're going to have a buy and flip in your possession for that long, but you know what I mean. You want a desirable place that the masses will want to live. So, and certainly not surrounded by rental property, because that doesn't tend to help the value of homes. on average. Not in every case, but on average. So if you're doing buy and flips, you want to look in neighborhoods where the properties have been appreciating very, very strongly. So good question. And then let's see, Veronica. Veronica's got a question here. Should I be present at my home during showings? And actually, this is something that I actually talk to clients about a lot. So a great question. The simple answer is no. I would highly recommend that you get the heck out of Dodge when showings are about to happen. If you have to be home, that's one thing. Like if you're laid up in bed, or but then maybe we shouldn't be showing your property. But get out, because buyers might not feel comfortable, and they might hurry to get out of your place and may not see some of the things that might want them to make an offer on your place or buy it. So long and short of it, I would get out. Try to leave before they show up, and then come back after. Even if you just drove down the block and waited for them to show up and then came back in, if you wanted to get back in as soon as possible, that's fine. But highly recommend leaving for showings. The other thing that could happen is, let's say you're there and maybe the realtor asks you some questions as to why you're moving. Well, what you say or don't say might give them some ammunition if they did want to put in an offer and during the negotiating. So again, another reason just to make sure you leave and let them have at her. So anyway, that's all the time we've got for today. I just wanted to remind you again, we've got Calgary's best interior designer as a guest next week. So make sure you tune into that, or if you can't tune in, send us your questions ahead of time. Anything to do with interior design or renovations. We're going to try and do this on a regular basis. Get a guest in, different professional in the real estate industry that might be able to answer any questions. And if you've got any ideas on real estate professionals that maybe we could invite out as guests, just in case I don't think of it, I won't pretend that I can think of everything. But yeah, if you think of anything, send it in, private message, in our comment section, whatever, and we'll work to try and get your questions answered. The idea here is to give the people what they want. So if you've got questions, make sure you send them in to us, privately or otherwise. And thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.